Some machines weren't built for highways, they were built for survival. In the harshest corners of Siberia, the Ural Mountains, and the frozen Arctic, Soviet engineers created off-road trucks that could go where Western vehicles dared not tread. These were not just trucks, they were lifelines, conquering terrain that swallowed everything else. Today, we're counting down 10 forgotten Soviet off-road trucks that could outwheel any Western truck. Number 10. ZIS-151. The ZIS-151 marked the beginning of the Soviet Union's modern military truck lineage and set the foundation for many of the country's off-road legends that followed. Produced by the Moscow-based Zavod imeni Stalina plant, starting in 1948, the ZIS-151 was the Soviet answer to the American Studebaker US-6 and GMC CCKW trucks that were supplied during World War II under the Lend-Lease program. While the Western trucks had proven invaluable to Soviet logistics during the war, Moscow wanted to create a domestic design that could exceed their performance under harsher, colder, and rougher conditions found across the USSR's vast territories. The ZIS-151 used a 6x6 drivetrain configuration and was powered by a 5.6-liter inline-six gasoline engine, producing around 92 horsepower, modest by modern standards, but designed to deliver consistent torque rather than peak power. It employed a 5-speed manual transmission paired with a 2-speed transfer case, providing 6 driven wheels and exceptional traction across mud, snow, and deep sand. Unlike many Western trucks of the late 1940s that favored comfort and on-road refinement, the ZIS-151 prioritized mechanical simplicity and robustness. Its solid axles and leaf spring suspension allowed it to carry over 2.5 tons of cargo off-road, while its dual rear-wheel setup improved flotation over soft terrain, a critical advantage in Siberian snowfields and unpaved steppe roads. One of the defining aspects of the ZIS-151's design was its ability to function with limited maintenance in remote regions. Soviet engineering emphasized redundancy and ease of repair. The truck's major components could be replaced or repaired using basic hand tools, and the engine could tolerate poor quality fuel, a necessity in post-war rural USSR. The electrical system was simplified to minimize failure points, and the vehicle was designed to remain operational even with partial mechanical damage. In comparison, Western trucks like the Dodge WC or Ford GTB were more refined but often struggled with reliability when exposed to extreme cold or inadequate fuel supply. The ZIS-151's off-road ability became evident during its service in Korea and the early stages of the Cold War. Soviet and Chinese forces deployed thousands of these trucks in mountainous and swampy terrain, where American M35s and GMCs frequently bogged down. The ZIS-151's lower gearing and robust drivetrain gave it an advantage in steep climbs and heavy loads. Moreover, the truck's high ground clearance over 300 millimeters allowed it to traverse riverbanks and forest trails where Western logistics vehicles could not follow. The vehicle's design also set the stage for future innovation. It directly inspired the later ZIL-157 and URL-375, and its basic chassis became the foundation for specialized variants, including troop carriers, mobile workshops, and early missile transporters. Despite its limited production run of roughly 150,000 units, the ZIS-151 became one of the USSR's most influential trucks, bridging wartime necessity with post-war industrial maturity. While Western truck manufacturers after World War II moved toward commercial comfort and speed, the ZIS-151 reflected an entirely different philosophy, that of pure functional endurance. In many ways, it was not a truck built for convenience, but survival. It might not have matched American trucks in horsepower or refinement, but in the unforgiving Siberian winter or the muddy banks of the Amur River, the ZIS-151 proved that brute simplicity could outperform sophistication. It was the first Soviet truck designed not just to move supplies, but to conquer terrain, and in that mission, it succeeded beyond expectation. Number 9. GAZ-63. The GAZ-63 is one of the most underappreciated Soviet off-road trucks, despite being among the most capable 4x4s of its era. Developed during World War II by the Gorky automobile plant, the GAZ-63 was officially introduced in 1943, but entered large-scale production only after the war. In 1948, it remained in service until 1968, earning a reputation for reliability and ruggedness that rivaled and often surpassed Western equivalents like the Dodge Power Wagon and the GMC M135. At first glance, the GAZ-63 resembled the American Studebaker US-6, but it was mechanically distinct. It used a 3.5-liter inline-six gasoline engine, producing 70 horsepower and 201 newton-meters of torque, driving all 4 wheels through a 4-speed manual transmission with a 2-speed transfer case. Its approach and departure angles, combined with a ground clearance of 270 millimeters, gave it impressive off-road geometry. The truck's layout emphasized weight balance. The engine sat further back compared to its American inspirations, improving traction over the front axle, a detail that made the GAZ-63 particularly effective on soft ground. The Soviet Union needed a truck that could handle forest roads, frozen rivers, and steep rural trails with the same reliability it had on highways. The GAZ-63 was built exactly for that purpose. It featured narrow, deep-treaded tires that could cut through mud and snow rather rather than float over it, which made it remarkably effective in Russia's mixed terrain. Its short wheelbase improved maneuverability in tight spaces, and the truck could climb gradients of over 30 degrees. When Western trucks struggled in cold starts, the GAZ-63's preheating system allowed reliable ignition even at -40 degrees Celsius, a vital feature for the northern regions of the USSR. The truck's versatility made it indispensable to both the military and civilian sectors. It was used as an artillery tractor, mobile radio station, ambulance, and even as the basis for early all-terrain prototypes. Many of these vehicles operated for decades after production ended, some still running deep in Siberia into the 1980s. The GAZ-63 also became a symbol of Soviet agricultural modernization. It was the first 4x4 truck widely distributed to remote collective farms, allowing transport of goods and fuel through conditions that would immobilize most Western trucks. What truly made the GAZ-63 stand out, however, was its dependability under neglect. The Soviet logistics doctrine demanded that vehicles remain serviceable even when maintenance was sporadic. Western trucks of the same period required more frequent lubrication, cleaner fuel, and higher quality parts, luxuries not available in much of the USSR. The GAZ-63, by contrast, could be repaired in the field using improvised materials, and its mechanical components were over-engineered to withstand abuse. The simplicity of its drivetrain and absence of fragile electronics gave it an edge that Western designs could not match until much later. Though largely forgotten today, the GAZ-63 was a cornerstone of Soviet mobility. Its ability to maintain traction on snow-packed tundra, crawl up forested hillsides, and run on fuel that would stall most Western engines made it an engineering triumph of practicality. It proved that the Soviet Union didn't need to copy the West. It could build something that simply worked better in its own world. Number 8. ZIL-157. The ZIL-157 is often regarded as the quintessential Soviet military truck, a machine that perfectly embodied the USSR's philosophy of mechanical endurance over comfort or complexity. Introduced in 1958 as the successor to the ZIL-151, it became one of the most iconic off-road trucks ever produced behind the Iron Curtain. Built at the Lykachev automobile plant in Moscow, the ZIL-157 was not merely an upgrade, but a complete rethinking of what a military 6x6 should be in the Soviet environment. At its core, the ZIL-157 was powered by a 5.6-liter inline-six gasoline engine, producing around 104 horsepower and 314 newton-meters of torque, mated to a 5-speed manual transmission with a 2-speed transfer case. These numbers might appear modest, but what defined the 157 was not power, it was traction and torque delivery. Its 6 driven wheels, all equipped with single off-road tires instead of the dual-wheel arrangement of the ZIL-151, greatly improved traction in mud and snow. The decision to switch to single tires was revolutionary at the time. By increasing tire width and allowing more flexible sidewalls, the ZIL-157 achieved better ground contact and reduced the tendency to sink in soft terrain. Another groundbreaking feature was its central tire inflation system, one of the first ever installed on a production truck. This allowed drivers to adjust tire pressure on the move, a crucial advantage in the variable terrains of Eastern Europe and Siberia. Western trucks, including the American M35 and British Bedford RL, would not adopt this feature until years later. The ZIL-157 could deflate its tires to traverse swamps, snow, or sand and reinflate them for road use without stopping. This system, combined with locking differentials and a rugged 6x6 layout, made it practically unstoppable in the field. The truck's construction was simple but exceptionally durable. Its frame was made from thick steel beams capable of withstanding heavy loads and severe torsion stress. Suspension was handled by leaf springs on all axles, tuned for balance between ride comfort and load-bearing strength. Despite weighing 5 tons empty, the ZIL-157 could carry up to 4,500 kilograms on-road or 2,500 kilograms off-road, and still tow artillery or trailers weighing over 6 tons. This strength made it the backbone of Soviet and Warsaw Pact logistics from the late 1950s through the 1980s. Real-world performance validated its engineering. The ZIL-157 operated in extreme conditions across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, often in terrain that immobilized American or European trucks. It performed exceptionally well during the Vietnam War, where the North Vietnamese Army used it for supply operations in the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a region infamous for its mud and mountainous terrain. Western observers were astonished to find Soviet trucks traversing swamps that even tracked vehicles found challenging. Beyond the battlefield, the ZIL-157 served as the base for countless specialized variants: fuel tankers, command vehicles, radio trucks, fire engines, and even mobile radar systems. Its reliability made it indispensable for decades. Despite the arrival of newer trucks trucks like the ZL-131 and Ural-375. Production continued in various forms until 1991, over 30 years. That longevity speaks volumes about its design integrity. While Western 6x6 trucks like the American M35A2 were certainly capable, they were never built to handle the relentless extremes that defined the Soviet landscape. The ZL-157's ability to keep moving regardless of weather, terrain, or neglect gave it an almost legendary reputation among drivers. It wasn't comfortable, it wasn't fast, but it was unstoppable. Number 7. GAZ-66. If there's one Soviet truck that has achieved cult status among off-road enthusiasts worldwide, it's the GAZ-66, affectionately nicknamed the Shishiga. Introduced in 1964 and produced for 35 years, it became one of the most recognizable and beloved 4x4 trucks in Soviet history. Compact, highly maneuverable, and famously durable, the GAZ-66 served as the Soviet answer to light off-road utility trucks like the American M37 or the German Unimog 404. The GAZ-66 was powered by a 4.3-liter ZEMNZ-66 V8 gasoline engine, producing 120 horsepower and 284 newton-meters of torque, coupled with a 4-speed manual transmission and a 2-speed transfer case. Though relatively small in size, it was capable of carrying up to 2 tons of cargo while maintaining excellent off-road performance. With its 4x4 system, 315 millimeters of ground clearance, and short overhangs, the Shishiga could climb gradients of up to 31 degrees and ford water up to 1.2 meters deep without any modifications. One of the GAZ-66's most distinctive features was its cab-over-engine design, which dramatically improved visibility and weight distribution. By placing the cab above the front axle, engineers achieved a nearly perfect balance between the front and rear, giving the truck remarkable stability on uneven ground. The design also reduced the vehicle's overall length, allowing it to navigate dense forests and mountain passes where longer Western trucks struggled. The GAZ-66 could turn within a remarkably tight radius and maneuver through obstacles that even some Jeeps could not. The Shishiga became the Soviet equivalent of a Swiss Army knife. It was used by every branch of the military, from airborne units to border patrol, and also saw extensive civilian use in geology, forestry, and rescue operations. The airborne forces particularly valued it because the GAZ-66 could be airdropped from transport aircraft, a rare capability for a 2-ton truck. Western trucks, such as the Dodge M37 or Bedford MJ, had no equivalent airborne-compatible models with such compact off-road efficiency. Another key advantage was simplicity. The GAZ-66's mechanical systems were intentionally straightforward. Its carbureted V8 engine could be repaired in the field using minimal tools, and its manual systems from steering to brakes were designed to function reliably even when partially damaged or frozen. Drivers often referred to it as the truck that never dies. In Siberia, many GAZ-66s remain operational today, some still hauling timber or fuel through regions that modern pickups cannot reach. In comparison, Western trucks like the Unimog offered more refinement and comfort, but their complexity also made them less forgiving under poor maintenance. The GAZ-66, though less sophisticated, excelled in endurance. It was a truck built for survival, simple, rugged, and capable of outlasting nearly anything. Over 3 decades of continuous production and nearly 1 million units built testify to its success. The GAZ-66 was not just a vehicle, it was an institution, one that truly could outwheel any Western truck in the environments it was built for. Number 6. ZL-131. The ZL-131 is often described as the workhorse of the late Soviet military. Introduced in 1966 as the replacement for the ZL-157, it represented a significant step forward in power, durability, and versatility. The 131 became one of the most recognizable Soviet 6x6 trucks, serving in dozens of countries across Asia, Africa, and Eastern Europe, and proving itself capable of tackling environments from the Siberian tundra to the deserts of North Africa. Under the hood, the ZL-131 housed a 6.0-liter ZL-131 V8 gasoline engine, producing 150 horsepower and 402 newton-meters of torque. It featured a 5-speed manual transmission paired with a 2-speed transfer case and 3 driven axles. This combination gave it not just strength, but impressive agility for its size. With a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour and a fording depth of 1.4 meters, it could operate in conditions where few Western trucks dared to go. Its ground clearance of 330 millimeters allowed it to clear large obstacles, while a centralized tire inflation system gave it the adaptability needed for variable terrain. The ZL-131 was not merely a transport truck, it was a platform. It served as the base for countless specialized vehicles, mobile radar systems, command centers, missile transporters, firefighting units, and fuel tankers. Its rugged ladder frame and dependable drivetrain made it ideal for customization. The design emphasized maintainability, with easily removable panels and accessible mechanical components. This meant soldiers could fix the truck in the field, often without needing spare parts or specialized tools. One of the ZL-131's greatest achievements was its reliability under extreme stress. During the Soviet-Afghan War, these trucks carried troops, ammunition, and supplies across mountainous terrain, where Western vehicles, including the American M37 M35 and M939 struggled with altitude and heat. The ZL-131's carbureted V8, though fuel-hungry, remained dependable and easy to service. Its wide tires, when operated with reduced pressure, allowed remarkable traction on sand and rocky slopes, a feature Western militaries did not commonly adopt until decades later. Another underrated aspect of the ZL-131 was its adaptability to cold climates. The truck's engine preheating system and insulated fuel lines ensured consistent performance even in -45°C conditions. This was a decisive advantage in Siberian and Arctic operations, where Western diesel engines often failed to start. The combination of brute torque, simplicity, and mechanical endurance made the 131 one of the most capable off-road platforms of the 20th century. Production of the ZL-131 continued until 1994, with over 1 million units built across multiple variants. Even today, it remains in service in some parts of Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, often outliving more modern Western trucks. Its legacy lies in its uncompromising balance between utility and resilience. Where Western manufacturers sought refinement, the Soviets sought permanence. The ZL-131 stands as proof that sometimes the simplest machines are the hardest to defeat. Number 5. Ural 375D. The Ural 375D represents one of the most iconic heavy-duty 6x6 trucks in Soviet history, a machine designed for raw power and uncompromising reliability in some of the world's harshest environments. Introduced in 1961 as the successor to the ZIS-151 lineage, the Ural 375D was developed by the Ural Automotive Plant in Mias. From its inception, it was conceived not as a mere transport vehicle, but as an all-terrain logistics platform capable of operating in complete isolation from support. At the heart of the 375D was a 7.0-liter ZIL 375 V8 gasoline engine, producing 180 horsepower and 490 newton-meters of torque. This engine, combined with a 5-speed manual gearbox and a 2-speed transfer case, gave the truck a maximum torque curve ideally suited for climbing, towing, and operating under load in rugged terrain. Unlike most Western trucks of the era, which often favored diesel power plants, the Soviets chose gasoline for one primary reason: dependability in extreme cold. Gasoline engines started more reliably in sub-zero temperatures, a critical factor for Siberian and Arctic operations. The Ural 375D's drivetrain was a masterpiece of straightforward engineering. Power was distributed to all 3 axles, and its suspension relied on heavy-duty leaf springs combined with shock absorbers to handle up to 4.5 tons of cargo off-road. Its high ground clearance, an impressive 400 millimeters, enabled it to traverse rocky surfaces, marshlands, and deep snow. Furthermore, it could ford rivers up to 1.5 meters deep without preparation, making it one of the most amphibious-capable, unmodified trucks of its era. The truck's performance was legendary during military exercises and real-world conflicts. The 375D served as a multi-purpose carrier for troops, artillery, and supplies throughout the Soviet Union and its allies. It gained a fearsome reputation during the Soviet-Afghan War in the 1980s, where it frequently carried heavy loads across steep Rocky Mountain roads. Its large tires and central tire inflation system gave it a level of adaptability unmatched by most Western trucks. American and British equivalents like the M54 or Bedford RL, while mechanically solid, lacked such versatility under the same conditions. Maintenance simplicity was another area where the Ural 375D excelled. Soviet soldiers were trained to repair virtually every component with minimal tools. The truck's engine bay was accessible and designed for field service. Spark plugs, belts, and even entire cylinder heads could be replaced without specialized facilities. In contrast, Western trucks often required more precise servicing and higher quality fuel. The 375D could run on low-octane gasoline and endure long-term abuse without mechanical failure. Beyond military use, the Ural 375D became a cornerstone of Soviet industrial expansion. It played a vital role in construction, forestry, and exploration projects across Siberia and Kazakhstan. Specialized variants were fitted with cranes, drilling rigs, and tankers, making the 375D a true multi-purpose platform. Even decades after its replacement, many examples remain operational in remote villages and off-grid industries, a testament to its enduring build quality. The Ural 375D also influenced the design philosophy of future Soviet heavy-duty trucks, particularly the Ural 4320, which would inherit its rugged DNA but transition to diesel power. While Western heavy trucks moved toward comfort, the 375D remained purely utilitarian, built to move forward regardless of terrain or condition. In simple terms, the Ural 375D wasn't a truck for the road, it was a truck for the earth itself. Its unmatched reliability in the most remote parts of the Soviet Union cemented its reputation as one of the most capable off-road machines ever built. Number 4. Ural 4320. Introduced in 1977, the Ural 4320 remains a symbol of enduring Soviet engineering. It was developed as a direct evolution of the Ural 375D, retaining its proven chassis but modernizing the powertrain with a diesel engine for improved range and torque. The result was a truck so dependable and versatile that it continues to serve militaries and industries worldwide, well well into the 21st century. At its core, the Ural-4 was powered by a KAMAZ 740 10.85-liter V8 diesel engine, producing 210 horsepower and over 470 newton-meters of torque. This represented a shift in Soviet strategy, a focus on improved fuel economy and longer engine life while maintaining cold weather reliability. The combination of diesel torque and the proven Ural 6x6 drivetrain made the 4 nearly unstoppable in harsh conditions. Its operational range was nearly double that of the gasoline-powered 375D, a major advantage for long-distance logistics. Off-road, the Ural-4 was unmatched. Its 6x6 system, featuring locking differentials on all axles and a 2-speed transfer case, allowed it to conquer deep snow, sand, and mud with ease. Ground clearance measured 400 millimeters, and it could ford up to 1.5 meters of water without preparation. The truck's central tire inflation system allowed tire pressure adjustments from inside the cab, giving it exceptional adaptability. Western trucks like the Mancat 6x6 or the American M939 were comparable in theory but often required more complex maintenance and lacked the same cold weather resilience. The Ural-4 320's frame was built to withstand extreme torsional stress, and its suspension components were oversized for durability. The truck could carry up to 4.5 tons off-road and tow up to 12 tons. Despite its heavy-duty capabilities, the 4 320 was surprisingly maneuverable, with a turning radius suitable for forest trails and narrow passes. Throughout its service history, the Ural-4 320 has proven itself in every possible climate. It has operated in Arctic convoys, Afghan deserts, and African jungles. Its reliability during the Soviet-Afghan War became legendary, where it often served as both a troop carrier and a fuel truck. Unlike Western diesel trucks that struggled with altitude or dusty environments, the Ural-4 320's naturally aspirated diesel engine kept running under virtually any circumstance. The Ural-4 320's simplicity also made it ideal for civilian adaptation. Variants were produced for firefighting, oil exploration, and rescue operations. It became a favorite among off-road expeditions in Russia and continues to be used by adventure enthusiasts today. Production of the Ural-4 320 has never stopped. Modernized versions with updated engines and interiors are still built at the Ural AZ plant over 45 years after its introduction, a rare achievement for any vehicle. Its continued use by the Russian military and various international forces underscores its success. If the Ural 375D was the Soviet hammer, the Ural-4 320 was the refined tool. More efficient, more enduring, yet equally unstoppable. Number 3. KAMAZ 4310. When the KAMAZ 4310 appeared in 1980, it represented a new generation of Soviet off-road capability, combining durability with modern diesel technology. Built by the newly established KAMAZ plant in Naberezhnya Chelny, this truck became a cornerstone of both military logistics and civilian heavy transport. The 4310 was powered by the KAMAZ 740.10 V8 diesel engine, producing 210 horsepower and 470 newton-meters of torque, paired with a 5-speed manual transmission and a 2-speed transfer case. This drivetrain, similar in concept to the Ural-4 320, provided immense low-end torque for off-road performance while achieving a top speed of around 85 kilometers per hour. The 4310's key strength was balance. It combined load capacity, efficiency, and off-road mobility better than nearly any Western counterpart of the era. The truck's suspension design and high ground clearance of 395 millimeters allowed it to handle extremely uneven surfaces. It could climb 31-degree slopes, ford rivers up to 1.5 meters deep, and operate at temperatures ranging from -45 to +50 degrees Celsius. Its 6x6 drivetrain with differential locks gave it extraordinary traction, allowing it to traverse soft mud and sand where Western trucks like the M939 or Mercedes SK series would struggle. Beyond its technical strength, the KAMAZ 4310's modular platform made it ideal for specialized roles: mobile radar systems, fuel carriers, troop transports, and even bridging equipment. During Soviet operations in Afghanistan and later conflicts, it proved its worth under constant load and poor conditions. Its diesel engine consumed significantly less fuel than older gasoline trucks, allowing longer operational range, a crucial advantage in remote logistics. The 4310's engineering also set the stage for future success beyond military use. Civilian derivatives became essential to construction, forestry, and oil industries across the Soviet Union. The KAMAZ brand would later gain international recognition through motorsport, particularly in the Dakar Rally, where heavily modified versions of this truck family achieved legendary victories. Western heavy-duty trucks might have boasted comfort and refinement, but the 4310 embodied rugged efficiency. It wasn't built for highways or commercial logistics. It was built to conquer terrain, haul heavy loads, and endure punishment. Decades later, the KAMAZ 4310 and its derivatives continue to serve around the world, proving that Soviet functional design outlasted the era it was born in. Number 2. ZIL 135. Few vehicles capture Soviet ingenuity quite like the ZIL 135. Developed in 1959, this massive 8x8 truck was originally designed not as a cargo hauler, but as a missile carrier for the U.S. USSR's tactical rocket systems. Built by the Likachev plant, the ZIL-135 was engineered to move enormous payloads through rough terrain at high speed, something few Western trucks could achieve, even decades later. The ZIL-135 was powered by two ZIL-375 V8 gasoline engines, one for each side of the drivetrain, producing a combined 360 horsepower. Each engine drove the wheels on its respective side through a unique twin transmission system. This complex layout offered immense traction and redundancy. If one engine failed, the other could still power the truck. Its top speed exceeded 65 kilometers per hour despite its 12-ton weight, and it could carry payloads exceeding 10 tons, including Scud and Luna missile systems. The 135's design prioritized stability and off-road performance under extreme loads. With 8 driven wheels, wide low-pressure tires, and independent torsion bar suspension, it could traverse swamps, dunes, and snowfields with minimal ground pressure. Western heavy trucks like the American M520 or British Thornycroft Antar relied on brute engine power, but the ZIL-135 achieved mobility through balanced traction and low tire pressure, a design ahead of its time. Despite its immense size, the ZIL-135 demonstrated surprising agility. It could climb gradients of 30 degrees, cross trenches over 2 meters wide, and operate in -40 degrees Celsius temperatures without auxiliary heaters. The truck's sealed hull and snorkel system even allowed limited amphibious operation. Though primarily built for military use, the 135's influence extended far beyond. Its chassis inspired civilian prototypes and heavy off-road transporters, particularly in Arctic exploration and oil field operations. The concept of distributed power and modular suspension was so advanced that Western engineers studied captured examples during the Cold War. While Western missile carriers depended on prepared roads, the ZIL-135 could deploy nuclear-capable rockets directly from rough terrain, giving the Soviet military unparalleled strategic mobility. It wasn't just a truck, it was a statement of power and self-sufficiency. Number 1. MAZ 537. The MAZ 537 stands at the pinnacle of Soviet off-road engineering. Produced by the Minsk automobile plant and later at Kurgan, this colossal 8x8 heavy tractor was designed to haul the heaviest loads the Soviet military possessed: tanks, missiles, and engineering equipment across terrain that would stop most vehicles cold. Introduced in 1959, the MAZ 537 was powered by a 38.9-liter D12A V12 diesel engine producing 525 horsepower and over 1,800 newton-meters of torque. Power was distributed to all 8 wheels through a hydromechanical transmission and dual-range transfer case. Despite weighing over 21 tons, the MAZ 537 could tow loads exceeding 50 tons and reach speeds up to 55 kilometers per hour. Its massive tires, independent suspension, and high ground clearance gave it the ability to cross mud, snow, and sand effortlessly. The truck's design philosophy revolved around unstoppable traction. Its 8 large, low-pressure tires distributed weight evenly, minimizing ground pressure and maximizing stability. The MAZ 537 could ford 1.5-meter rivers, climb steep 40-degree slopes, and operate from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius. Western heavy haulers such as the American M911 or British Antair required paved surfaces and specialized trailers. The MAZ 537 simply drove where it needed to go. Used extensively throughout the Cold War, the MAZ 537 became the backbone of Soviet strategic mobility. It transported intercontinental ballistic missiles, heavy tanks like the T-72, and bridge layers through unpaved routes. Its sheer torque and drivetrain resilience made it capable of pulling stranded tanks or other trucks, tasks nearly impossible for Western equivalents. The 537's importance extended into civilian life as well. It was adapted for oil field operations, polar expeditions, and heavy construction in Siberia. Engineers often referred to it as the truck that could move mountains. Even after the fall of the Soviet Union, the MAZ 537 continued to serve in Russia, Belarus, and several Eastern European countries. Many remain operational today, over 6 decades after their construction, proof of their extraordinary durability. In every sense, the MAZ 537 represented the apex of Soviet off-road truck design, an unyielding machine that truly could outwheel, outpull, and outlast any Western truck of its time. These Soviet machines weren't built for luxury or fame. They were built to endure, to explore, and to survive when the world ended. From frozen tundras to desert dunes, they outwheeled, outlasted, and outworked everything in their path. Which of these Soviet beasts impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love forgotten off-road legends as much as we do, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us as we uncover more machines that time forgot but history will never erase.